Well, Roger, thank you for having us today. You're going to have to excuse us. There's a little bit of tension here. We just got off a bus. We've been on the bus for a week together. We've learned a lot about each other. Very intimate in many different ways, including
some things we didn't want to know.
Yes. But it got me thinking and made me curious. RV trips. Have you ever been on a long cross-country trip before in a bus?
Yeah, I didn't make it all the way across the country, but Madden and I went on one of the Madden tour bus
You
rides.
did?
Yeah, for a summer training camp, and probably spent 4 or 5 days together. It was a lot of fun, though. It was fun, but I did stay in a hotel. I did not sleep on the bus. Okay. So yeah.
Oh, so you half-assed.
It was a half-assed
basically.
way.
Yeah.
I can imagine we get the honor, especially with flying with Al throughout the seasons. I can imagine riding on a bus with Madden. There had to be some things that stories you got to listen to and him talk about that had to be really special, because that's my greatest part is riding with Al Michaels and him telling me stories of sports history.
Seeing it all through Madden's eyes and hear him articulate. And it's the way he is on television, exactly the way he is in person. You guys know that. And he loves to talk about football. He loves to talk about people. He loves to go and do something different involving people. We used to get off the bus to get something to eat, and the funniest moment was late at night. We got into a Chili's, and we were all hungry, and I walked up and I said, "I'll just have a chili," and the young woman said, "We don't have chili." And Coach went into his
Oh no,
you don't have chili. You can't have chili. How do you not have chili at Chili's? And
the name is Chili.
But it's just he is who he is, and what a great man, a remarkable guy. But the time to talk about football and what's working and what's not working, his perspective on things is it's amazing. I'll never forget that trip.
That's awesome. Well, I think first and foremost for us, we have to tell you thank you. And this TNF schedule, best we've ever had.
Oh my goodness.
It has been unbelievable. So we first want to say just thank you for your faith in us. And also, as we continue to build this partnership through NFL on Prime, man, thank you so much, because it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, but it's also been great for our fans. You've seen the ratings go up every year. You've made it appointment television. And you've made it more fun and exciting. And I think the games have been spectacular. That always helps, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. I think coaches and players have learned to adjust to that short week and how they're going to play. And, frankly, all our games have been great across the board. It's just, I mean, the players and coaches have just done an amazing job.
Yeah, I think the parity, which I think is what we're always striving for, has been exceptional. It's fun to see you at a lot of these games, too. What is the moment when you walk into these stadiums that reminds you why you love this game so much?
The football itself. I mean, and the fans' reaction to it. Ultimately, I get just as excited walking into a stadium as I did 50 years ago. For me, it's like a kid, and to know that you think about and you understand all the work that goes into that. The off seasons, all the preparation, the competition committees, all the things that you do to prepare for it and the clubs do to prepare for it, and then to see it come together. And even setting the schedule, working on the schedule, trying to balance everybody's schedule from a competitive standpoint, broadcast side. How do we do that and put the best piece together in April when you have no idea what it's going to be like come October, because of the competitiveness of the league. So it's just every day is sort of like another great moment for all of us to just enjoy. Sometimes they're not always enjoyment, but it's part of what makes the game so great.
Yeah, and we do appreciate, too, you giving us at Green Bay early in the season, at Buffalo.
Tony Gonzalez especially.
Early in the season, yeah. Tony, thanks you. He wanted us to tell you that.
There's nothing better than going to those cold weather sites, so playoff time will be fun.
You're right, and we enjoy the cold weather too. Though I think you jumped in an ice bath in Chicago last year.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
And usually you're taking your shirt off in Buffalo games.
They make me do it. It's a tradition at this point. So tradition I know you love watching.
Roger, I think like our time really went along right when we got into the league, with you taking over this position. And I think of like at the beginning, probably the persona, or like just the thought was, Roger the enforcer a little bit, because there were so many things that really the game was changing a ton. As I always say, we kind of played in that era of, it felt like the game changed so many different ways over my 16 years through training camp practices, through rules and everything else. But over the years, I think what's been so cool to watch is we go from this, maybe that was the persona, Roger Goodell, the enforcer of the rules of the league and things changing, to realizing that there's a lot of love and cheers with kids running to hug you on draft day. And that's like the thing they're talking about and they're the most excited about. And hearing players constantly talking about you showing up for them in their lives outside of the football field. Did that approach ever change? Or do you think it's just over time when people got to know who you were, that's what we see more and more?
Wait, it's an interesting question. I never had, I started as an intern here, but then I went to the Jets. And as a young intern, I got to see the players and work with them every day. I was the kid who went in and pulled you out of the locker room for interviews. And it was a tough year. I mean, they went to the AFC Championship the year before and then fizzled out. We didn't even make the playoffs. So for me, I was able to be there with the players' experience. I still stay in touch with a lot of those guys. So my perspective on the importance of the players and the relationship of the players never changed. The enforcer stuff was more of, I thought it was bad for the reputation of all our players, that you had a few guys that weren't holding the standards for all of us. And at the end of the day, they start looking, fans and others sort of saying, well, that's what NFL players are. And they don't talk about an individual, they talk about the group. We're a victim of one perspective that is not in the best interest. And I think our players deserve to be looked at in the highest light, because of what they do on and off the field. And I think they're extraordinary. So anything that detracts from that, I get pissed off. And I'll defend it. But we also have to do our part, right? And I think our guys do amazing things. Now, the things happen, but I think our guys are amazing on and off the field. And I appreciate the contributions they make to our game. And I don't mean by playing the game. I mean by their perspective and what they bring. When we go through collective bargaining, a lot of the best ideas come from that side of the table. And some of the people who sit there with us at the table. Both of you do. You have one on your show who went through the last negotiation with, that always has a point of view, and you mash it up, right? You figure it out, and you understand that perspective. And then you got, a lot of times you get on the other side, you got that traditional. And my job is to try to figure out, okay, how do we make all of this work? How does it work for the players? How does it work for the teams? How does it work for our fans ultimately? And that's sort of the proudest thing for me, is that I think we've been able to figure that out ultimately. I mean, the game's in a good place, but I think most people would say that, whether they're players, coaches, fans, or teams.
Yeah, and I just wanted to remind you that you're sitting here with the only Walter Payton Man of the Year Award winner that's been ejected from not one but two games.
Thank you. That's a great
it's
way
for
to...
what you do off the field.
It's for
not
what you do
for what you
off
do
the
on
field.
the field.
Okay,
Right?
but we had talked about. We've got the Lombardi Trophy over there, best team award that you could possibly earn, and then that one right there, which you had mentioned was the best individual award you think you can earn as a player. Why is that so special, the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award?
Because I think it does celebrate the greatness of our players and what they do. I'm always amazed at what they do in their communities and their families do, and how they make a difference in the community. And I don't know if people appreciate that enough. So we want to celebrate it. And so part of honors is celebrating our players. We also, that's the last award to be given at the end of the night to someone that is really hard to choose because we have so many great people. And that's the award that goes last because it represents, I think the most important thing is who we are as people ultimately and what we give back to our communities. And that man deserved to win it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of great people, this year we're going to have our first ever Offensive Line Award, the Protector of the Year Award, right?
I'm surprised it took you this long
Did
to bring it up.
Did you think it was going to take a while for me to work that in?
I thought we were leading off with that one. Yeah,
I did too, Fitz, actually.
No, but I've said this. Deion Dawkins and I got a chance to sit down for Thursday Night Football and talk about this. And obviously it was something he's really passionate about. A lot of former players are as well. What excites you about this award and maybe just the awareness it can bring to the NFL fans of how special that position is to our game?
Well, I think it's great when people get a a different perspective of the game and get insight into that game and understanding what offensive linemen actually do. I mean, they don't get enough credit for what they do. And at the end of the day, controlling the offensive line that's key, right? As a quarterback or as a running back, or frankly, even as a defense, because you can control the football, you're keeping the other guys off the field. So I think offensive line is one of those positions that if we give the fans more access to understand what it takes. And it's also, that position where you have to be the greatest teammate. You gotta know. All 5 of those guys up front better know what's going on. And I just feel it's the appreciation for that is fun, and to see the pride that you guys had and the desire to try to bring more light to that and to honor the guys who do it well. I think that's a great thing. And so, we had great input from a lot of players. And a lot of other players led the way, and I think it's going to be fun for the fans. I think everyone will have fun with it, and that's what they should do.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because when I look at it, to me, it's what makes football unique. It's what separates us. In basketball, you can have your 5-on-5s, and everyone's really got a chance to score and have an opportunity to have impact in the game. Baseball, the same way. In football, we're the only sport that has a position that's literally there to serve, and they're there to stand in the way, pave a path for somebody else to be successful. And I think that's what brings humanity and people to the game of football, because there is this element of thriving and there's an element of service and standing in the way and protecting each other that I think brings so much pride to our game and the toughness it takes to do it. I think that's why I'm really excited about it. And I know Fitz knows all too well, so he's played behind a lot of offensive lines, how passionate I am about it. But I think that's what's really going to be cool. And then the other opportunity to me is when you think of all these linemen that have played since this game started, that have the opportunity to watch, next February, and they're going to get a chance to see one of their own stand on a stage beside a quarterback, beside a defensive lineman or a defender or a skill player who's the most important person to their team. To have those guys get to have that moment of like, we matter too. I think that's going to be epic and really cool.
You know what, though? There's a lot of offensive linemen right now. I mean, when I watch the games, the amount of commercials that you guys are in.
Hey, it's our time,
you're having a real
it's our time right now.
You guys are having a real moment right
now.
You really are. And I think, obviously, Jason Kelsey has been a great steward for the game too, but it's fun to see him. It's fun to see Whit and what are your little J.C. Penney's, little Geico commercial, all those things. That's cool because it just wasn't the way. But I think now, especially with all the analytics and the grading systems, and even just a team like Detroit, you start to realize how important these guys are.
Yeah, and I think most of the attention they get is when a flag goes, and that shouldn't be, right? Because they're out there every day, and they're out there making the way, and the other people are probably getting the credit. But I find the offensive linemen probably the best leaders, and I say that for all the experience I've had off the field. They do their homework, they come prepared, they're ready to mash it up and to talk about something and try to get to a better place, and they care about the team. And so it's the bigger picture that matters, right? It's not my success. It's the success of what we're trying to accomplish together. That's really important.
I've got a Mount Rushmore in my life of hardest handshakes. Adrian Peterson, Rex Ryan, made my son cry at the Super Bowl in Houston, and Roger Goodell.
Wow.
I will say, though, talking about your relationships with players and things, we moved past the handshake to the dap up and the hug now. Yeah. So I don't know that handshake is still as firm as it once was. But what about the importance of your relationship with not just the current players, but the players that are retired, that have been through the game? I think that's something that I really appreciate, and it seems to me like you put a lot of effort and importance into it.
I do. One, I enjoy it, most importantly. Two is you guys have given so much to the game, whether you're a former player, a current player, or the future player, but their perspectives and the things that they've learned from the game, and the way they still contribute back to the game. You guys are still contributing every week for us and every day. And I want all those guys to contribute because I think they're part of the game. They're part of the history in some cases if you're a former player, but they're part of the future of the game. And we should celebrate that. We should give them the access. The more our fans know about our players, the better off we are. And and they really contribute to this game, and they give me ideas that I would have never dreamed of, but they talk about it all the time. I remember a story at the Pro Bowl, and I was the key person at the league at the Pro Bowl. This is back in the early 90s, and we were having trouble getting quarterbacks to play. And we had 2 quarterbacks on the AFC and the NFC. And this is when they really played. There was real contact, real football. And I sat down with Warren Moon, and we were sitting at lunch, and I go, Warren, what do you think? And Warren said, add a 3rd quarterback. And I said, Warren, I can't get 2 to play. How do you expect to get 3? And then he explained the reasoning behind it, which is, hey, if you're one of 2 and the other guy goes down, you got to play the whole rest of the game. And if you get 3, we still can play a reasonable amount of time rather than the entire game. And we added 3 and it worked. Yeah. And so my point is, I don't think that would have come from anybody else, but you ask the guy who's at the source for his perspective, and they give you something you would have never thought of. And I always remember that lesson. That was 30 some odd years ago.
I wish Warren would have said add 8 of them, so I could
you can keep your job a little longer.
He's gone to Hawaii once, maybe. I don't know.
Roger, we're coming up on year 20 next year, almost 2 decades at the helm. I mean, I just think how much the game has changed and all the things that's gone with it. When you look back, what stands out to you as the biggest evolution in either the game or just in yourself?
You know, I think one thing you have to really do with this game is grow with it. There's no way I could have anticipated the things that we were going to be challenged with. It's just it's unimaginable. But you have to grow with that, right? And you have to understand, and there are basics of how you manage the league and how you try to bring everyone together. I think the thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that the game continues to become more and more popular. Ultimately. I also am incredibly proud of the fact that we were able to do that while making the game safer. People never accepted that we could make the game safer and better at the same time. And I think we've done that. And we've done that with a lot of help from a lot of folks, right? The players, the coaches, our medical folks. All of us had to believe in that ultimately to get to that place. And I think seeing our players healthier during the season and after their careers, that's all good for the game ultimately. And I just think people didn't believe we could do that. So I'm very proud of that. And I think the league should be very proud of it. And it's also opened up other doors. It's allowed us to sort of relook at the season structure, go to 17 games, and do it in a way that we feel like the players can manage that. Yep. And the teams. And that opened that door. Ultimately, if we didn't make the game safer, in my view, we wouldn't have gotten to that. And I think that's a great thing for the fans, ultimately. They want to see on the field. They want to see off the field. Yep. And data has allowed us to really do that. The second is just making the game more accessible. I mean, I'm really proud of the fact that the way we present our games, we do it with the best partners. We've added new partners like Amazon. We've used technology to bring different access and a different platform. So our game is accessible to the largest number of people. And I think that's a different path than a lot of others have taken. And people get to see our game. They get to see every aspect of it. And that's great for the fans. And I always say, there's never been a better time to be a fan. When I was a kid, I had to wait till Monday night to watch the highlights. That doesn't happen anymore, right? You get them right there. Yeah. And our game isn't about highlights, but it's sure great to have that as a supplement and an access point for it. I think people love to watch the drama and the live aspect of our game, and never been better.
Yeah, and the push for the global games, the streaming, and now flag football being in the Olympics, you just start to think of this 10, 15-year time horizon. What's next? What are we going to see in the next 10 or 15 years? I
think we're really going to see our game become global. You were talking about Jason Kelsey. I'm at the game, and all of a sudden he walks in the suite in Ireland. Yeah. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "I decided to come over and play golf for a little bit and come over and enjoy the game." And so, we had a few pints and just enjoyed the game. And every player that I talked to over there, which was a lot, how was the experience? What was good? What was bad? they love the idea that they're taking the game global, that they're part of that they're getting to expand their brands on a global basis. But to be part of history and bringing the game to the world, that's a cool thing.
I went over to Dublin this summer and did 4 shows, essentially just with any NFL fans that wanted to come and watch. And I was shocked. Played in London once before, but shocked at the passion that they had. And it was not surface level understanding of the NFL. I mean, they're true fans that want to know the ins and the outs. And I walked away from that experience thinking, man, this global expansion thing is working because they love the game. They all have their teams that they root for. There were a ton of Dan Marino fans, so they're kind of Dolphins fans over there from the way that it used to air. But their accessibility, I think, is really driving the game over there as well.
And it's not just Ireland; it's everywhere we play. Yeah. Every time we play, and you come back the next year, you see how it's evolved, how it's elevated, how the fans are better educated, how our media partners are more interested in looking for different ways to engage, how our sponsors are more people wearing the merchandise, and we're raising the bar for that. We have to do a better job in every one of those levels to make that experience better for our fans. But you go to an NFL game internationally and people walk away saying, wow, I didn't think you could entertain us with all the other things outside of the game. You know, the music, the singing, the video boards, every aspect of the game is something that I think international fans appreciate, and it's helped make our game grow faster ultimately.
Yeah. I think it's cool because, I mean, everywhere you look, the game of football is growing, and internationally and also right here at home. I know as dads of young daughters, I think for us, just seeing the way flag football is exploding for young ladies wanting to play the game. Why has that been personal to you in the league, and how cool is it to see that?
Well, listen, I want people to have access to our game, and playing our game, I think, is it wasn't really that available for young women to play. And I'm a father of 2 girls myself, and I want people to have that opportunity to play it. And I think they grow from it. One of my favorite things was a few years ago being at a 49ers game, and Steve Young came up to say hi, and he had his whole team. He was coaching his daughter's flag football team. And he had tears in his eyes talking about coaching them, talking about it made me fall in love with the game again, seeing and watching these young women who are great athletes get a chance to play the game I love, and to be able to show them all the great benefits of playing this game. And he brought them all up, and all 32 of them, 2 of them are his daughters, but you see these young women who are great athletes. We have the chance to play our game and to understand the teamwork and the discipline and the decisions that have to be made on the field and how it affects them off the field. You see that maturity, and you see that sense of pride and confidence ultimately. And there's nothing more important for young women. And so I think our game can add a lot to people's lives. And I think that's a good thing for us to share. And the Olympics is going to be a stage. There's no bigger stage from an international standpoint. And I was just over at the IOC last week between Ireland and the London game and talking about the plans for how we're going to do that. I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be great. And I think a lot of kids are going to really benefit from this.
If you need some linemen and referees, you just let me know. Okay? I'll
Can you keep up with the Whit?
I'll hold the chains.
You can just be the off the bus guy. You can walk off the bus.
Like,
yeah. Oh my goodness.
I'll lead them off the bus. Yeah.
One of the best moments for me this year is one of my daughters texting me about fantasy football and whether she should draft Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. But it's like just the driving interest in that. And
what'd you say, Fitz?
I'm not going to tell you because it doesn't look like a good opinion right now. But that part of it for me, I was lucky because I played long enough to where I got to have my oldest sons and my oldest daughters kind of a part of it and a part of the locker room, and they got to pick out their favorite players. And still, every time Kyle Van Noy gives an interview, they talk about their friend with the angry eyebrows. But it's cool to be able to include everybody in it. And you can see, we've just seen in our households how much it's grown. I got to ask you the technology part of it and continuing to push innovation. How do you do that without losing the soul of football or losing the soul of the NFL and what it is.
Fitz, that's one of the hardest things, particularly with a successful organization, is how do you balance that tradition versus innovation? And how do you keep moving forward? Because you have to evolve ultimately, but you also have to respect that tradition and finding out where that line is. It's hard. It really is. I mean, even the chain crews, we have new technology that, it may not be necessary to have the chain crew out, but that moment of drama with the chain crew is something that a lot of people love. So it's a hard thing to evolve from. I always sort of run by, you have to embrace technology. Technology is changing our life. It changes the way we play the game. It changes the way we watch the game. We have to embrace it. And we have to sort of use that to make the game better. Officiating is a great example of that. Replay assist. The game is getting faster. It's harder to officiate. I think our guys do a great job, but there's no such thing as perfection on the field, whether you're officiating or playing. And what we want to do is get it right and avoid the big mistakes, because it should be decided amongst the men playing the game. Yeah. And we have really worked hard to obviously improve and educate and try to get the skills up with officials. And I think they have gotten better, but we also have to supplement that with technology. And we have to give them additional technology that can help them look at something that they couldn't necessarily see live. We look at the plays, and you guys were part of it. We look at it for 5 minutes after it's happened, and we still can't decide. These guys have to make decisions like that.
Yeah.
And it's 7 men and women on that field making those calls, and we have to give them the tools to try to get better and keep up with the game. And I think technology will be that. Will AI be part of officiating in the future? I think it will be. I think we'll be able to use that to help give us a better input so that we can get it right on the field. And I think that's true with every aspect of our game. It's helping this health and safety. It's clearly helping from the ability of fans to be able to appreciate the game, whether it's watching it or playing fantasy football or any other alternative where there's non-football game content and non-game content that is really interesting for people to be able to get closer to the game. And I think we've got to hit every one of those cylinders. And that's what we focus on. How do we bring the game closer to people?
Raj, as we sit here today, part of the reason we're here, I think back to our Amazon seminar, when a lot of folks from NFL offices came to see us, and Jeff and Hans and Don and everybody, and seeing the emotions in their hearts of just what had happened this summer. I think we use this word culture a lot in the game of football about our teams. And I think when we talk about culture, it's how you acknowledge each other. It's how you work together, the way in which we do things, the common beliefs we have. But two of the things that always resonate to me in great cultures are how you acknowledge one another and how you handle adversity together. And I think of the league, all the different things we've been through as a league, as a whole, things that have come up over the years. We never claim to be perfect, but we always claim to respond in the right way. And I think that when you look at those times, who you are really identifies to people what you're about. I know you and I shared a little bit of a text at that time of we knew how people would respond and we'd pull together. And I know that there's a lot of people that people don't realize that make this game happen, that you may not see. They see your face talking, but there's a ton of employees that you represent every time you get a chance to do that. How proud are you of that moment? Obviously, it's something you'd never wish upon us ever to have to go through, but just how people rallied together and all the emotions that were involved this summer with what went on here at the NFL offices.
Yeah, it's the unimaginable. It's so senseless, and it's the impact it has on people. It was tough, and it's, we have incredible people who work here, and the number one thing you want to do is keep them safe. And when that's violated, it's hard. And we ask a lot of them, but we never ask them to be putting their life in danger. And so it's just, it was one of those moments where we had to understand that everyone's going to deal differently with this. And we had to wrap our arms around with them and lift them up for those that needed to be lifted up. We need to move forward, but we needed to do it with care. We had an employee that was shot and injured. Fortunately, he's going to make a full recovery. but one of the great young men and great people that helped make this league successful. And you could see it in his attitude and every aspect of it. You'll get a kick out of this, Fitz, because I went to see him in the hospital, and he said, "I'm doing great." He said, "I'm a Jets fan. I'm used to this kind of adversity." But that's it. But he's a huge step. But that's the sense of humor, but also the resolve to sort of to get through it. And I've never been prouder of our team, and I've been the league in general. COVID was one of those challenges that nobody thought we could get through. Nobody thought we could play. And we were determined to play. And that goes from working with the players to figure out how we're going to do this safely, working with our network partners, to working with our clubs, and finding out how we do it safely and still pull this off in a world of complete uncertainty. But the bigger picture for us was not just to play. It was why we were playing. We're playing because our country needed it. Our world needed it. We needed to show that football and normalcy could happen. And for us, it was about staying on time. We'll do the draft. If we have to do it virtually, we'll do it. We'll figure it out. People thought we were crazy, but we figured it out. And we did it. And it ended up being maybe one of the most unique drafts in our history, right out of my basement. Yeah. But the teams pulled together, and then they saw everybody else at home. And I think it was better than the daily White House briefing. I know that. And it brought us to,
that's for sure.
It brought us to a new place, I think. And then we got through that hurdle, and then we kept going, and we had to do the CBA over essentially that year with the players and go through all of that. And we started on time. We finished on time. We played every game. And I got to tell you, as a challenge like you're talking about, that was one of the ones that I think will go down in the record books as pulling together to make something happen. That I think was really good for our country.
I agree. I always walked away from this. My senior year at LSU was Hurricane Katrina. So obviously affected our campus a lot and a lot of our games. And we had to kind of serve, like in our off time from playing football, we were doing a lot of stuff with the community, and the PMAC became a health triage. They were bringing people from New Orleans there, and we would help with their beds and all those type things. And it always lived with me. You'd have these conversations, and these people would say, "I lost everything I have, but I got out of there with my 2 season tickets to LSU games. So on Saturday night, if you guys would please beat Ole Miss, it'd make my day."
Isn't that amazing?
No, but it's what you're saying. It's like they needed those 3 hours in their mind to come watch us play ball. Took them away from everything that was going on in their life and every stress and everything of how do I make it tomorrow. And they just enjoyed something that they were in love with and they had a passion for, and they got to just get away from everything else. And it always lived with me as I played, that what an honor it was. And then, 7 months later, my best friend, was killed in action at war 2 weeks after I was drafted. And so for me, a national anthem, an opportunity to play in a football game, like always meant a whole lot more than the X's and O's that were happening on a football game. It was about, man, what a cool job, an opportunity I have in life to go out on this football field and compete, entertain people, and call this my life, because I know that I get to be here for a whole lot of other people that made a whole lot of other things happen. I get this ability. So those two things always stuck out to me. But that's to your point, is it's that football provides this space for people to get away from a lot of things in life that maybe that they're unhappy with or unsettled with. And I think that's something we were able to accomplish.
We're privileged to be part of this. And we're privileged because we can make a difference in our communities. We can make a difference in their lives. Nothing unites people like football.
Yep.
It's just true, whether it's on the NFL level, the pro level, or even high school football or youth football. Yep. It brings people together in a way that I think it's important for our society to have that. Yeah. And so we're all lucky, right? And we thank you for what you guys do to make it happen. So.
Well, I don't want to come off as insensitive here. I'm going to take a little time turn. I have to ask you this question because I've been thinking about it for a while. It always makes me
nervous when he says this.
When you were talking about COVID, there was a week for me. I was playing for Miami. We played against
know
the
exactly what
Raiders.
you're about to
I got my face mask pulled. I make this miraculous throw. Well, I end up getting COVID, testing positive the next day or 2 days later. Now, my question to you, we were trying to bring some levity to the situation as well in tough times. I used to walk around because you guys would videotape everything in a jockstrap and a mask, bending over, grabbing waters. I did a naked run with my helmet on through the practice facility. Did you ever see that footage?
I didn't, thank God.
Okay, good.
He has it.
We'll show you after we blurred out what needed to be blurred out with a tiny dot. But all right, that's always been on my mind.
And why did you do this?
Because I wanted the people that had to review the boring videos to make sure everybody was
That he was
masked
away
up,
from people.
to at least know that I was masked up.
So everybody would be gone, and he would go in the indoor where he knew there was cameras, and he would just run around in a jockstrap just because he wanted somebody to have to review where he was in the building.
So you never on this desk saw that.
I did not see it.
That makes me feel better about our relationship. So let's just end off with a few lighter questions. Another one that's been a burning question for me to ask you on Sunday nights. How many angry texts are you fielding from owners, players, coaches?
A lot.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's a couple that get a good chuckle, though, because you know they're coming probably.
Yeah, you know they're coming, but actually, I usually send a few myself. I mean, our staff loves it when I'm traveling, because when I'm traveling, it's harder for me to see games. Even when I'm at a game. When I'm at a game, I get so distracted. And I can't watch the game, and it's frustrating, but it's also part of the experience because you get a chance to talk to everyone. But when I'm sitting at home, I can sit with my pad and I'm writing down notes the whole time about things I see, things I want to see, things that we should do better. And my staff hates it because I come in Monday morning with I go down to the fishery room where we do that every Monday, and we go through every play or that I would call them controversial or significant impact. And we look at those and we take them in. What can we do to not change that at that point, but avoid that in the future? So I think those inputs are important. I get them from coaches a lot. And you want those because that allows you to go back and sort of say, okay, guys, if we can't fix it today, can we bring this back to the competition committee and think about how we can address this so that it doesn't happen in the future? So the inputs are important. Some of them are funny. Some of them will piss me off too, but that's okay. That's the way it works.
That's awesome. Well, Roger, we couldn't thank you enough for your time, man. I want to just follow up with this as when people look back at this era of football, what do you hope the headline is that they write of your time being the commissioner?
That the game got better, that the NFL got better. Ultimately, that's how we're all judged. Did we make the game for the better for the people who played it, for the people that invest in it, the people that includes fans, because they invest an awful lot in our game. They invest time and energy, and we want to make them proud, right? We want to get better, and we want to make sure that we're giving them everything they want and more. And I think the other thing I'd probably say is that we are seen as something that's important in our world, that we can influence society in a positive way, that we can make the world a better place. And it's not just a football game to us. It's much more than that. We mean much more to our communities, and we should. And we all rise to that occasion. And all of us have that responsibility. And I think as I look back, which I don't do very often, that's what I'll be hopefully looking back at.
That's awesome. Thank you again, man.
But I want one thing. You've been sitting in my seat for this long.
Oh, you want your chair back?
No, I don't want it back. I just want to know what are the things you want to do sitting back there. You've had almost an hour back there. Come on. What do you think?
What do you think?
What's your first move?
Well, my first move, pay offensive line more. No, I'm with you. I always say this is there's not a lot of things I can promise in life, but one of them is any circle I walk in, I will give everything I have to make it better than how I walked into it. And so to me, I see that the same way. So I think that's where you and I have always connected, and I think Fitz and I connect the same way. And that's why this bus tour we even went on, it wasn't even about anything. It wasn't a promotion, it wasn't anything else. We wanted an opportunity to do exactly what you just listed. We wanted to go see a bunch of different communities, go into a bunch of restaurants and diners and say hey to people and tell them we appreciate that they watch football. We went to a high school football game, a college football game. We're going to end up at two NFL games. We just wanted a chance to go put our hands on people and let them have the excitement of the NFL roll through their town and us tell them thank you for watching. And that's basically it. And to me, I think that, how you make people feel matters. You can say a whole lot of things, but at the end of the day, when you walk away, how you made them feel will resonate and last. And so I think to us, that's what was important on this bus tour. And next year, you're going to have to ride with us a little bit.
That'll be fun. Is there room for? Is there another
There's
bed?
plenty of
Top
room.
bunk. You got to go top bunk though.
You're on. I'll do it.
All right,
All right,
appreciate it.
heard it here first.
Yeah,
heard
for
it.
sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Fitz.